Saturday night marked the premiere of AEW Collision, and in case you missed it, here are some of the highs and lows from the night. Now, the biggest talking point by far was the return of CM Punk, who hadn't really been mentioned or seen on AEW television since September of 2022, when he tore his tricep off the bone wrestling Jon Moxley at All In. And this was going to be his first time with a live microphone, a crowd, and in an AEW ring. And for the first 15 minutes of the show, I would say he didn't disappoint, but I was confused. So I'm going to start this one and just say it's neutral, because he did this ESPN interview that came out Friday before Collision's premiere, where he talked about being, like, concerned that Hangman Adam Page was going to go into business for himself and, like, hurt him in their match. And he spoke about that and, like, wanted to make sure everything was clear before doing promos, before anything, like, talked about his process a bit. And then here tonight, his promo was all about, like, hey, people hate me because I'm great and because I speak the truth, and people are soft and scared of me. And he had a great line about counterfeit bucks, and, like, he just talked all that shit. And, like, it just is kind of jarring after reading this interview where, you know, it was such a concern as far as his safety was concerned, to then kind of have a promo that was all, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the pool. Like, it was just kind of interesting. It was a little jarring. But that said, this was a first episode. I have no idea where things are going to go. I would imagine that those guys all have to have some match at some point. Hopefully, because that would be just blockbuster, probably one of the biggest matches or one of the most defining programs that AEW could ever run, really. But so we'll say that it started off interesting. We'll see where it all goes. It's a self-contained first episode. Nothing really clearly defined even for what Punk is going to be doing week to week. So we will see. My first true high of the night is going to be Buddy Matthews taking on Andrade. If you did not see it, it was an absolute slugfest. Both men appeared to get hurt. Andrade favoring his right arm, or it might have been his left arm, and Buddy Matthews clearly hobbled with a bad knee, and they just kind of gutted it out. And, like, there were a lot of commercial breaks throughout the night, which was a bummer, because the timing for them was basically the worst. Like, there was no rhyme or reason to these breaks. So they had this segment during the picture-in-picture break where Matthews and Andrade both went to their corners, and, like, medical teams, like, came in and, like, checked them both and were like, are you good? Are you okay? Like, what's going on? And, like, if this was all a work, it was an unbelievable touch, because, like, they get checked out and they're both like, I can go. They're, like, staring at each other. They get back up and go right back at it, trying to finish the match. And I was like, damn, like, if they're hurt, then more power to them for being tougher than I could ever fathom being. And if they're not hurt, then even better, because they're putting on a performance that would have just about anybody watching it convinced. Both men looked incredible, and the match was just great. Which brings me to another high of the night, which is the Chicago crowd. They are such a good crowd for wrestling. There had been so much talk about the ticket sales for Collision and how poor they were, and how CM Punk's announcement of his return didn't really jump the numbers like they wanted. And people were like, this could be a disaster. Like, Saturday night at the United Center, if it's empty, it's going to be a catastrophe. And it did not look empty. They had plenty of shots throughout the night of all of the fans basically chanting nonstop, cheering nonstop. They were white hot for just about every single match. And it really does make the show feel more important. Like, any show that you're watching with a hot crowd like that, just like a bad crowd can really kind of, like, bring the mood down. This crowd absolutely was white hot and so excited for the show, and it really helped make it feel like a big special, like, debut episode. My first low in the night is going to be Luchasaurus versus Wardlow for the TNT title, sorry. Luchasaurus wins with a lot of help from Christian, who just plays, like, the heel slimy manager perfectly. He's really been on a good run, but here it just felt disjointed. Like, the two men had a good match. They're both big, physical, imposing men. So, you know, you had the, like, stiff toughness of both of them trying to see, who could outstrength the other one, basically outmuscle the other one. And Christian just kind of had these weird moments outside where he would like pretend he was gonna get in the ring, or he'd like look and get all mad, and it was like obviously like trying to do like a distraction spot, but like they did it like 5 or 6 times before then doing it for the finish of the match. And so it just looked weird. Like at a couple points, it just looked like something was off. Like I don't know if it was a timing thing or what it could have been, but it just didn't quite land for me. And then another low, unfortunately, is the announce team for tonight. Now I say for tonight because I think this team is going to be great moving forward. It was Nigel McGuinness and Kevin Kelly on the call, with Jim Ross joining them for the main event. Jim Ross had suffered a fall earlier in the day and still made it to Chicago to do the show. He had a gnarly black eye. His voice sounded really raspy. So I'm not going to be piling on JR here. I'm going to focus this on Nigel McGuinness and Kevin Kelly, who do have a very good chemistry from New Japan together. And I like both of them. I think they're both going to be great for this show. It's great to have new, different voices to really help this feel like a different show. But, like, they were just, specifically Kevin Kelly was just behind. Like, he was missing commercial break cuts or throwing to commercial breaks, or he would say we got to get to a break, and then there would be, like, another minute of match, and then they would throw to break. It was just a little off. He was pronouncing some names wrong. He had a hard time with Andrade El Idolo. And even the ring announcer had called him Buddy Murphy as he was making his way down to the ring. Like, there was just a bunch of little things, and like chalk that up to, the first night. Things are gonna be bumpy. It's a live TV show, and those things happen. But it was starting to happen so much that it was just noticeable. Like, you couldn't help but notice it, if that makes sense. Other than that, though, I really enjoyed everything. It felt like a different show. It felt like its own thing, which I thought was really cool. It was clear they put a lot of effort into helping set it apart. And it showed. I'm really curious to see what comes next. I'm excited to see those underutilized performers like Andrade, like Miro, and even more, it's more time for like acts like the House of Black or the Acclaimed to really get to showcase what they can do. And I think that's a good thing. Wrestling is clearly in a good place. The main event match was great with Bullet Club Gold and Samoa Joe versus CMFTR. Really enjoyed that. Really smart to kind of really monitor Punk's minutes. Someone made a load management joke online. It's true, but also like first match back, like you could tell he was getting a little tired in spots, so it was smart to use him sparingly throughout. And overall, I'm intrigued to see where everything's gonna go and how this is gonna slot into an already pretty packed week of wrestling. So let me know your thoughts on the show, what worked, what didn't. If you agreed or what matches you liked, hit the comments and let me know. Thank you very much for watching.